Let me know if you can see my slides. Great. So what I will do is for you guys, I will do a quick intro first to talk about DueDash, who we are, and then we will go to the main part of this event, which is of course AWS. Very excited to have him here and talk about it, but we'll come to this in a second. First, to talk about like what is DueDash and why are we doing this in the first place, right? So I'm Michael. I'm one of the co-founders at DueDash. Give me 1 second. I see always people joining in. Yeah. So I'm Michael. I'm one of the co-founders at DueDash, and basically why we started this whole thing is because the fundraising process up to this day is still quite complex, costly, and difficult for both investors and the startups. For you, most of you are coming in today into this session. Now, from finding the proper investors, going through due diligence, closing deals, and through these steps, you will encounter things that don't work out yet well. This idea of like, I'm showing a pitch deck, I'm going through this will often not work out. Now, the problem is that actually more than 79% of startups would be what we call investable, are not really raising the funding they need. And the thing is often because of information incoherences, asymmetries, you probably experience yourself. Investors don't react to you, they don't follow up, they're not happy with what you're showing to them. And this leads to a lot of costs and issues. Actually, there is over 65 million firms globally who have an unmet financing need. And with DueDash, we are solving this issue. So we enable you through our DueDash Investor Relations platform to go through each step of the fundraising process in one sleek platform. That means from knowing actually what data and documents investor want from you, becoming investable, finding the right investors, then actually going through the diligence, so making sure that you show them the right investment signals, convince them as time progresses, and then build that trust, build that relationship as time progresses. And through that, you are able to raise funding, manage your investors, keep them happy, and make sure you also raise your follow-up financing and build a great business. The platform is available under DueDash.com, and we already have quite a lot of users on the platform. Check it out, and if you're interested in a demo session, happy to also walk you through. You can write me in the chat and I'll send you the link. We are also supported by quite a lot of partners, which you can see here on the slide, and I'm very happy to have AWS as a very important partner tonight, talking about how they support startups, how they go through the process, how can you build your startup further, scale with the help of AWS. And if you have any questions further on DueDash, you can just write me, anything else on this, and otherwise I would give it to Abhijit and Gerko. And yeah, let me allow you also screen sharing, and I would give you the honor of introducing yourself. I think you'll do this much, much better and talk about AWS and what we have tonight. And if you have questions, just put them in the chat and Gergo and Abhijit will take them up during the session.
Yes, we will. Look, it's an absolute pleasure to talk to a group that's so invested in entrepreneurship. So we'll take, we have an hour. We will try not to have death by PowerPoint, but we have some slides to make sure there's a bit of structure for everybody to follow. Also helps us gather questions. So as you have questions, please put it in the chat. If it's immediately relevant, we might catch it during the presentation. Otherwise, we will take them after we've gone through the slides. Just to set scene in terms of why what the team does is important within AWS. It's essentially this quote from Jeff where he says the 3 big ideas that we've had at Amazon and the simplicity of those ideas. We're customer obsessed as an organization. Constant focus is on invention. And we believe when you find the right kind of ideas, you double down on them, and that takes time. My name is Abhijit. I am here with my colleague, Gergo. We are on the AWS Startups team. I am responsible for the B2B startups ecosystem, so working with investors that are very deeply focused on B2B startups, SaaS models, and so we will. Corporate investors, corporate innovation, and that kind of stuff. I am based in Munich.
And I guess that's an over to me. Also from my side, very happy to be here tonight. for us tonight. I know that we are around the continent at least, or even the globe. My name is Gergo, and I work together with Abhijat on the AWS business development team as a venture capital business development. So basically what we mean by that at our company is that I am mostly working with venture capitalists who invest into companies and their portfolios to give them access to the AWS platform and actually many things that we will go through today in terms of technical, go-to-market and financial support. I've been with the company for almost 2 years now, and I am based in Berlin. Our team, even if we are based in the German-speaking area, is very global. So we are also part of a bigger team that I will tell you about in a second. If you go on the next slide, Abhijat. This AWS Global Startup team that we are a part of is basically a team of exited founders, former investors, and startup executives, because we wanted to make sure that we have a team that really knows how it is to be on the other side of the table, how it is to deal with the challenges of building companies, how it is, to work with a bigger company like Amazon Web Services itself. And that is why we have this team that is aligned with investors, accelerators, and other startup organizations in all major startup hubs, and work with their portfolios in order to make them successful on AWS. You can go to the next slide. We have a lot of experience in working with startups since AWS has launched in 2006. I think that some of the examples that we are very proud of is, for example, Netflix. They use our services to serve customers in more than 190 countries. And we are very proud to make that happen technically, that all that content is delivered in a fast and high quality way to the end users. And another personal favorite of mine, since I've also worked in the sector, is Airbnb, who is also having a similarly global presence. And it's also a good example that we often like to talk about both internally and externally, because we've been there from almost the very beginning, since they were part of Y Combinator and started out as a small team, and have supported them along the way to their recent IPO and beyond.
Good. So just to give some sort of structure in terms of what kind of help we talk about, we try to structure this in 3 pillars, essentially aligning with our assessment of what startups need and where we can help.
Oh yeah, sorry, just could you reshare? I just pinned you both so better for better visibility, and then I think you have to restart sharing so it shows in a big screen. Just the slides.
Okay.
Yeah, just stop the sharing and restart it. So I can, because when I wanted to put like a pin on you both. Okay, if it doesn't work, otherwise I leave it. Usually I just put these pins.
Does it work now or no?
When we just continue like this.
Okay. So 3 big pillars. The first one is around financial. There's the easiest part in terms of a conversation. We have a program where we offer up to 100,000 in credits. Let's say you're building somewhere else, there's an opportunity to move. We make capital introductions. Gergo spoke about the work that he does as a venture capital business developer. And of course, there are other pools that we'll talk of within the Amazon group. The second pillar, no matter how good a founding team you have, it's impossible to keep track of all the technological developments. We have teams within AWS that are dedicated to helping startups figure out their architectural needs. So there are direct engagements with solutions architects or structural things like the well-architected framework. We will also talk in detail about this. And the last part, which is probably the most spoken about part publicly, is around go-to-market support. Within AWS, we have a network which is quite intense and deep. and we like to deploy it and help startups go to market with that stuff. And of course, there's a couple of structured programs where with the partner network and marketplace, you could find new channels to sell more.
So jumping into the financial part of it, as it is probably the one that is most well known in the market and has been around for the longest time in its current form. I wanted to spend a couple of minutes to dig deeper on our AWS Activate Credit program. So this is a program designed specifically for startups. We acknowledge that starting a startup is resource intensive, among which, of course, financial capital is one of those resources that you need to mobilize. And that is why we have designed this program to provide AWS promotional credits up to $100,000 to startups. So what we do here basically is that we create relationships to venture capital investors, accelerators, incubators, or even just startup organizations like DueDash, who is also an Activate partner with us. And we make sure that all the startups who are affiliated to them, who are in their portfolio, who are their members, have access to these credits. And then what we also do is basically we give different credit, different levels of credit to different partners, so that we make sure that each startup has the right amount of credits available at the right point in time. So you will often see that angel investors, pre-seed or seed investors have or 5, 10, or 25K packages, and then later stage investors often have our full 100K package, so that we can take the startups on this journey and provide the longest free cloud runway, as I like to put it in terms of mentor model. On top of these credits, we also have business support credits that can be used to get in touch with our support teams whenever that is needed. And there are also other perks in the offer. The requirements for this are, as mentioned, to be affiliated with one of our Activate partners. And also we are supporting startups with this program who are at their Series A financing or earlier, are not older than 10 years, and have a functioning website or public profile. So basically that's kind of like the lower bar on how you can access the program. As mentioned, we have a number of partners globally. We also can't really keep up updating this slide in terms of logos. So here you can see a couple of selected partners. But as mentioned, we also work together with DueDash. We also work together with a number of investors, accelerators, and other startup organizations in the German-speaking area, in EMEA in general, and also globally in North America, South America, and we also have an APG team. So I believe that wherever you are on the planet, there is a good chance that our teams will have some way to get these credits to you. And then moving on and mentioning a slightly different part of the financial support that we bring to startups are two actual investment funds within Amazon that provide investments into startup, in this case, equity investments, as opposed to the credits, which are, of course, equity free. The Climate Pledge Fund is one of the newer initiatives. It was founded in 2020, and it is a very large $2 billion US fund that invests in all kinds of technologies that have the transition to a low carbon economy. So basically anything that helps with CO2, with the reduction in CO2 emissions. This Climate Pledge Fund is supported by an internal team at Amazon, and they have already made their investments in those key areas that they invest in. And if this is something interesting for you, then I would recommend that you visit their websites, and you can also find a way there to get in touch with them. And then similarly, on the other hand side, we have the Amazon Alexa Fund, which is focused on startups who are developing NLP, natural language processing technologies. They also provide equity investment, but on top of that, they also give a very good way for these startups to validate their technology by giving them early access, to integrating with our stack. And we also have quite a large network of partners built up around the Alexa ecosystem by now, which also help then the startups to increase their go-to-market efforts and basically be more successful in terms of acquiring clients for themselves. And the last one, and the very newest one of these pillars, which we put here under the financial umbrella, but actually it's an equity free program, is our AWS Startup Loft Accelerator for the EMEA region. This is a 10-week program where we take in startups every month. It's 100% virtual, so I think that also lowers the bar for startups to participate, and it provides 25K in promotional credits from AWS. In these 10 weeks, startups will have the chance to prove their architecture with AWS solutions architects. They will also have the chance to get ready, also very much in the direction of what DueDash is supporting with, to be investable, to practice their pitch, get mentoring from our internal employees and also from external mentors that we have, and basically come out of this 10 weeks with new ideas and ready to take their next steps, both from a technological and from a commercial point of view.
Excellent. Okay, so we've kind of moved from the financial discussion, fundraising and things like that to the technical side. And this is, I suppose, the most natural expectation from a company like AWS. We build the stack, and when you build on the AWS stack, we want to make sure you have the right kind of support to build your companies. Quick things to kind of put this in context. If you wish to talk to an AWS solutions architect to talk through your architectures or problems to solve, that's something that we make available. So we have on our team a whole bunch of solutions architects all over the globe who will accept office hours and discuss these things with you. It's not unusual when a startup comes to us through a partner that our solutions architects sometimes end up in their offices half a day whiteboarding and working through architectures where needed. Of course, there are other questions that can surface, right? So for example, if you work on something that needs to be streamed, then the discussion can come whether it's something that's appropriate for Kinesis or Kafka. And we have a lot of experience simply because we learn with our customers on this. So all these learnings that are put together, there's an opportunity to talk to AWS solutions architects and move ahead with it.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, wow. Siri wanted to hear that again, funnily. But for this, you can get to the Startup Loft that we have and book one-on-one slots there. There are slots available. It'll tell you who the trainer is or who's the architect and what session or topic can you talk to them about. So jump onto that and get there. No, unfortunately, I don't have an Alexa watch, Peter, but okay. Now, the next one is something that I very strongly recommend everybody consider, even if you do not build on AWS. Based on all our learnings, we've put together an architecture, a process where you can go through all these pillars. And the idea is that you build sooner than later the right way, right? So let's take a couple of these examples. What does it mean? When we say the security pillar, this entire exercise would check your ability or the architecture that you're building, its ability to protect information, systems, and other assets while you deliver business value. And there'll be risk assessments and mitigation strategies. Performance efficiency. It's your ability to use the computing resources efficiently. Does it meet system requirements? Right? So as technology and other things evolve, are you doing it right or not? And the most recent pillar that we've added is the last one around sustainability. We've added tools so you can tell your customers what your impact on your sustainable infrastructure is. So you'll have a very, very clear idea if the infrastructure you're using is good for the environment, or are you doing it optimally or not. Now, how do you go about doing this? You can do this with an AWS Solutions Architect, free of cost, of course. There's also a self-service process that you can do at your own pace. There's also a way to do this with AWS partners. When you do it with a partner, we are happy to reimburse your cost within your AWS accounts as credits. So the third party might charge you for it, but we will reimburse it within your accounts. So summary, very strongly recommend everybody does this. The earlier you do this in your life cycle, the better it is. This can help you avoid embarrassing mistakes and costly mistakes later. Okay, so sometimes you can end up being a startup which has specific needs, either because of data requirements or regulation or compliance. I'll talk about 3 of these today. Within the DACH region, and for our international audience, that's Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, basically the German-speaking part of the world. 100%, every fintech unicorn builds on AWS. What this means is, of course, that's a very nice statement, but in a practical sense, what this means is we have a dedicated team that purely looks at fintech. And as our customers learn, so do we. So there's a fair amount of expertise that can help your business. So if you are a fintech company, it might make sense to be able to access this pool of resources, whether it's on go-to-market, technical, compliance, GDPR. There's a pool of resources available. We have a dedicated vertical that only looks at fintech startups. Next one. Similar story for health. Didn't want to put a bunch of logos here again, but the idea is there are dedicated services within the health sector that AWS has built. And we have a dedicated vertical because it's also such a regulated industry that can help you as you build your company. So please do consider taking advantage of these resources. They're available, they're world-class. We've recently launched, for example, in Israel with 4 of the biggest pharma companies in the world, a research facility using AI. So there's a lot of experience within AWS when we do this stuff. The last part is around SaaS startups. We have a setup that's called SaaS Factory, more relevant as you get in your later stage cycle as a company. So you build a very robust setup, and the partners that you see at the bottom, these are companies that have gone through SaaS Factory. For early stage startups, there are 3 standard modules that are now available. These are 3 hours workshops. How to build multi-tenant SaaS setup, serverless SaaS, and cost modeling. So that's something, if there's a lot of interest, you could reach out to DueDash. And if we get a big enough cohort, we could at another point in time consider running one of these sessions for you. Last part, go-to-market. Fairly simple. 3 parts that I mentioned initially. There is this entire AWS network. You could sell to enterprise customers of AWS. When you have a robust enough a product, we're happy to make these introductions to enterprise customers. Selling to other startups is a huge business now. And that's also something where we are very willing to deploy our network to benefit startups. What we also do, especially when you're in early stage startups, is we partner very closely with some third-party organizations. These companies are focused deeply on corporate innovation. And what we do is when you build on AWS and we see an opportunity with one of these 3P organizations that is working on solving problems for enterprises, we refer you into these organizations. And that will create a channel for you to find new customers as well. So this is also very, very powerful for early stage startups. Now, in terms of structured programs, and I've seen a couple of early stage comments here, and also in terms of the partner network, you can just go to the AWS website. It's called the AWS Partner Network. The procedure is fairly well laid out there. There are tiered structures, and you can grow your AWS-based business, which will, as you go through the process, there's a number of benefits. So in the beginning, you might get proof of concept credits. You will get access to additional training for your teams, business enablement support, and eventually, it starts getting to co-marketing opportunities. So this is targeted at software startups. And you can really accelerate your sales cycle by joining this APN community. Please be mindful though. End of the day, this is sort of like a competition against the best of companies, against the ones that are starting to make it there. So APN really kicks in to benefit your business as you're able to achieve some sort of a product market fit and not really an MVP or very early stage company. But very, very powerful. It takes time, and it's a process as you go through to achieve the right level of competencies. The other structured program that's available is AWS Marketplace. And the way I would encourage everybody to think about Marketplace is not necessarily a search and discovery mechanism, but more a deployment mechanism that streamlines software procurement. So with a single click, that entire lead time that you have while you try to sell your software to a customer can be reduced. There are free trials. You can run this on an hourly, monthly, annual, multi-year. You can put all sorts of structures. So billing and deployment all within AWS Marketplace. Remarkable when you really want to sell it, you found a customer, and deployment. That cycle reduction is incredible for those of you who've gone through this procurement cycle. It can be very, very painful with big companies sometimes. So this is quite powerful. There's a whole bunch of kind of business models that you can push through in terms of what you're selling. Products like security, networking are more on the self-service side. And when you go towards stuff like databases, that's probably sales-led. So somebody from your organization goes and sells it, and then the deployment is literally with a single click. So that was in terms of the three pillars we spoke of. There's some other things that we do as a startup team, and this is mostly in terms of knowledge sharing. We run a program that's called Amazon's Culture of Innovation. There's a very peculiar approach to it, and typical Amazonian style, we've put a structure around it. This entire program is to do with culture, mechanisms, architecture, organization. And no matter what innovation you hear that's come out of the Amazon world, whether it's Alexa or AWS itself or smaller internal innovations that we drive, everything follows the same process. So that's something that we run. It's a very, very popular session run for biggest of our customers globally. The next one is around recruitment. It's a 60-minute session where we talk of how we've thought of recruitment, how to scale it, how to standardize it, how to eliminate biases. And it's a very pragmatic session on how we run recruitment. Of course, this doesn't tell you where to go find talent. I don't think anybody's figured that out completely, but we talk of the exact steps that we take with recruitment. So this is also something that we do. That's more or less the entire story. Just to put the structure back in place, there's the financial pillar where we do credits and stuff like that. There's the Alexa Fund, Climate Pledge Fund. There's the technical part if you do not have the team. And my own experience is no matter how good you are as a founding team, it is just practically impossible for you to go through all the services and know what's out there. So please take the help that's available. There are people that are motivated to help you. Make sure we build startups the right way. And the last part is go to market. We are very eager to help startups succeed with that as well. So having said that, that's basically the death by PowerPoint that we're going to do today. I think now we're happy to take questions or other thoughts that come from the group.
So thank you for your questions so far in the chat. I was trying to answer them there directly, but just to recap a little bit, I think there were a number of questions around the Activate credits. So first of all, the DueDash credits are available under a link that Michael posted. So you can go there and you will find the instructions on how to redeem them. And in general, what we are looking for as the base requirement is to have a functioning website or some kind of public profile that helps us, to identify you as a business. And also in terms of verticals, there was a question about whether it's available for agribusiness startups. The answer is absolutely. This is vertical agnostic. We place the focus more on the stage of the startup, so that is pre-series B, right? So Series A is included, and that helps us to make sure that this financial help and these credits actually get to the startups at the point in time when they most need them, which is their build-up phase.
I think we have a question from Ivan.
Yes, hi guys. It's a great pleasure to meet you all, and thank you so much for your time. It's a really useful explanation. We actually got the Amazon Web Services credits because one of our investor partners there as well listed as portfolio company that can actually give the credits. But we've been struggling to find the partners to help us migrate our existing technology on the Amazon Web Services. We made a lot of diagrams. We made a lot of how that can actually work and how actually we can use different kind of solutions. But now we have problem because in our team we do not have anybody that is familiar with the Amazon Web Services. So we are actually hunting for somebody around the world to help us. So do you have any advice on how we actually can reach out to somebody who can actually help us migrate on the Amazon Web Services to use those credits that we already activated?
Yeah. I mean, look, even where is your company based or geographically?
Yes, so we are in between Serbia and London. It's UK-based company.
Okay. Yeah, look, I would recommend you just drop us a note after this session or so, and we'll connect you with somebody that's relevant for the geography who can help you. Yeah. But purely in terms of migration, there's two parts that I think everybody should consider. One is if you have a team yourself that can do it, then it's fantastic. Normally, if you book an office hour with a solutions architect, you can get your doubts clarified and questions asked, and that's helpful. A more comprehensive approach is using AWS partners from the APN network. So the network that I spoke of, the ones that are certified and whose bread and butter essentially is to make sure that you can build efficiently on the AWS stack. So they can help you migrate very quickly, but that's when you're looking for a more comprehensive solution. But if you think you have the tech team yourself to do it, then happy to connect with somebody on our team who can have a consulting session with you, gives you some advice, and then you can migrate.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I can second that, and even I do know we have a couple of partners in your geo, in Croatia and Slovenia, I think also in Serbia by now, and in the UK, I think we have quite a high number. So I will drop our emails now in the chat. I think we kind of jumped over it very quickly at the beginning of the session, but I put it in there so you have them. So feel free to reach out, and this is definitely something that we can hopefully solve on a short notice to find you the right partner.
Thank you so much.
Joe, I think Joe, you've got a question.
One of the things that we've been looking at here, I'm right in the middle of NSA, Fort Meade, and all that in the DC area. But one of the things we've been looking at heavily is modernizing AI, machine learning, and deep learning for DoD. And that, of course, is inclusive of AWS, whether it's NSA or CIA or whatever. That's a major part of it. My question is this: well, we've been looking for startups with innovation to be part of what we call our software systems integration approach. So I look at you guys as a gateway to that kind of talent. Now, we have blanket purchase agreements and basic ordering agreements. So we have the capability of bringing in teams of companies to work on things. But I've been looking at a way to, as a laser focus on that kind of talent. And from what I've been hearing here with the startups and things like that, it may be a great segue to be able to do that. So I would be interested in talking further about looking at the startup capabilities that you're talking about, integrating them into things that are very important: DoD focus, energy, healthcare, and things like that. That would be a great discussion that I would like to have with you guys, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's even easier because of your location. We have a significantly large team within the states, though. So and within the context of GovCloud, I think they'd be happy to have that discussion as well.
Yeah, I guess when makes sense, maybe Abhijit, if Joe maybe drops you a note, if I can take the conversation further, maybe that could be the best way for you, Joe. Now that you just write Abhijit, the email is in the chat, that you guys can take this conversation further, and he can also connect you with the right people in the States.
I see another question about credits again. Is it compulsory to have an institutional partner to avail higher credit, institutional investor? That is usually how our credit packages are structured. Yes. So if you are aiming higher at our 25K or 100K package, then those are usually given out to institutional investors indeed.
Yeah, any further questions from you guys? So we still have the time. So for any further questions, you can just put your hand up, and we have time to go through this. From your TJ or from also the other people's side. Pete, I've seen you a couple of times in the chat, so feel free to unmute yourself if there's anything else you want to ask. If that's not the case, of course, like you have the emails, maybe just kind of like I'm going to reshare the emails that Diego put them here at the bottom. So if you have direct questions, you can reach out to them. And I'm also just sharing again the link to the credits. So if you want to have like the startup credits, you can get from AWS by being a DueDash startup, which you give as a partner. So you can just click on the link and apply through that. Yeah, and again, thanks a lot, Abhijit, Diego, for the insightful session talking about AWS, how you help the startups. And I can only recommend you all, if you guys are not using it yet, tonight could be, or better today, depending on where you are on the globe, could be the day to start, or at least kind of get the additional credits and get going. Yeah. Anything else from your side, Diego, Abhijit, kind of closing?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to connect with your community. I hope that we answered those questions that first came to your mind. And as mentioned, you can find their emails. So please reach out if there's anything else coming up. And yeah, as Abhijit and also my slides were hinting at, we are working on providing you with more than technology. So I think that if you keep that in mind, and if you try to understand also through the content that we provide on our own website, or also on our blog, or even some YouTube videos about our reInvent conference that took place last November, I think you can get a quite comprehensive understanding of what we are offering and how we are able to help. And if there is anything concrete that you think that we should work together, or if you need something, then please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, thanks again, Gergo. Thanks again, Abhijit. Then with that, I would say I wish you all a good evening or a good day, again, depending on where you are. But I think for most of you, it will be a bit later today already. So, and as I said, have a look at the deal, go to AWS, start using it today. And yeah, then hope all you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, guys.